With every passing day, the San Jose Earthquakes become less and less recognizable, both in their roster and in how the front office is handling business. And that's a good thing. Welcome back to another Quakesaholics video. My name is Kevin, and today we're going to be discussing the Quakes' latest transfer news, the arrival of Josef Martinez. Usually I'm joined by Luis, but he had to sit today's video out due to being sick, but rest assured he's feeling great with all this positive Quakes news. So, like I said, Martinez is signed for the Quakes, and in doing so joins the better black and blue, our black and blue. Originally reported by Tom Bogert, this news was finally confirmed today. Even from when those transfer rumors came out, it seemed very likely just because, well, the rumors came out right when the Quakes had confirmed its first rumor, which was that Chicho Arango was going to come to the Quakes. Now that it has gone through, we have a little bit more information on the transfer, but not a whole lot. It's really just this sentence that he signed as a free agent, which I think is significant, but it doesn't give us enough information about what to expect. I looked at the MLS player salary guide. This is from last year's season. Josef Martinez was on quite a considerable amount of money over at Montreal. I don't think that it'll be in this ballpark just because we already have too many players that are making money in this salary range. Who knows, maybe Chicho's a DP and Josef Martinez is a DP and we're going to roll out with 5 DPs and bend more rules than Inter Miami when it comes to the roster. But again, we don't know how much, and with these kind of things, without knowing the role and how much they're going to be paid, it's hard to set expectations, at least for me. What people are really going to be looking at is his history in scoring goals. He's definitely known for being one of the greatest goal scorers in the league. He's the quickest player to reach 100 goals, and he has something like 116 goals in 184 games, which puts him around a goal every game and a half. We can compare that to what we had last year in Ebobisse. He was around 3 games per goal in his time with the Quakes, so this is basically double the production. And then we can go on and comparing him to Chicho Arango. Green bar is basically all across the board in the statistics that matter for a striker, but it isn't quite as green as Chicho, which I think is to be expected. So without knowing how much he's going to be making and just looking at the stats and just knowing the player that he is from having watched him for so many years, overall the sentiment is very positive. I think this is a really good move for the Quakes, and I think having this kind of player elevates the level of play tremendously. And then on top of that, you also have the domino effect that with each big signing, it makes the next big signing easier because players will look at the San Jose Earthquakes and say, hey, that's a serious project, I want to play there. But I'm still a little bit confused on why this is the player that we went after. Why are we making 2 striker transfers in basically like a 24 to 48 hour time period? It seems a little bit odd. It also leaves me questioning why we assigned the option for Judd. So now we have 3 strikers, and like 2 years ago we only had 1. So we have a lot more depth at the striker position, which is good. It's always good to have more competition per position, but I also don't want to overlook the other points in the roster that we could still be upgrading. I think midfield is something that we definitely need to reinforce because it doesn't do us any good in having all this attacking power if we can't progress the ball up the field because we have a hole in the midfield. I think that's what we saw a lot of last season, and I think that's why some of these numbers and statistics that Jeremy Ebobisse has are so low. It isn't necessarily a reflection on him, it's a reflection on the situation that we were in. And like I said, Chicho and Josef Martinez, these are players that elevate the level of the team, but it's going to take more than just that. It gets us in the right direction, but I think we still need more. If I had to guess on how Josef Martinez will be utilized for the Quakes, and again, this is dependent on the salary, it makes the most sense to probably have him as a sub for Chicho Arango. It seems pretty clear from the statistics that Chicho should be the main target as a striker. And if Martinez is a sub, I think that's a really good sub to have. I think it leaves Judd in an awkward position, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. But of course, there's always the possibility that Bruce Arena is making this signing intentionally to have Chicho Arango and Josef Martinez playing together, whether that be one of them plays at the 9 and the other plays more of like a center attacking mid, which then opens up the question, how do you feel they're not in that situation? Or, I mean, you can always play with 2 strikers, right? We could go to a 4-4-2 formation, which I don't think is the solution here, but it's always a possibility. It'd probably look like putting Espinosa and Pellegrino on left and right mid, which, again, I'm not saying we should do that, but it would kind of solve that problem that we don't really have a clear midfield. And if we do that, then you could play Hernan and Gresso as the 2 centrally in that midfield. Again, I'm not pushing for that, but if we only have the players that we have right now, that is one possibility, because playing 4-3-3 leaves one of these 2 strikers probably on the bench. And I don't know, with Gresso and Hernan, I'm not sure who would be the 3rd midfielder there, but we'll probably find out in a couple of weeks once we see the preseason get going. But regardless of what the formation actually ends up looking like, I do think a lot of praise needs to go to Bruce Arena and the front office. At this time, what we're seeing is it feels unprecedented, really. We don't really see moves from the Quakes until the end of the transfer windows, and right now we saw, I mean, it started with 3 players coming from New England at the very start of the window, and then Nick Lima, then we signed another goalkeeper. At a time it looked a little bit shaky because it was just straight up players from New England Revolution, all 5 of them. But now with Chicho, now with Josef, that's 7 players. It adds a lot more confidence, and there's still more time in the window. I think it was to be expected that we'd be signing this many players. Wherever Bruce Arena has gone, and specifically I'm talking about LA Galaxy and New England Revolution, his first year, or his first transfer window, I should say, he makes a lot of changes. I was actually going back and looking at the Galaxy. So he came in towards the end of the 2008 season, but his first transfer window was between 08 and 09. And you can look at this list here. Every green name in this B column are players that he signed during that offseason, meaning that the white is what was left over. And I think it was 11 players, 10 or 11 players that made it from the 08 to the 09 roster. So that's a massive overhaul, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. And then similar story with New England, but that one was a little bit of a slower reconstruction. It is worth mentioning that despite all of these changes, it still took a couple of years to win for the first titles with Galaxy, and then with New England, I think it was until his 3rd year that he won the Supporters Shield. Never won an MLS Cup there, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is, yes, we should have expected a big roster overhaul, but I don't think it's that time yet to set expectations of winning MLS Cup. The main reason I'm saying that is, again, I think more needs to be done with the midfield. If we can sign another midfielder, I'd be a lot more confident, but for the time being, praise to the front office, praise to Bruce Arena. They're doing it right. I think they've really learned from their mistakes from last season and the seasons prior of trying to wait until the end of the window to get more leverage for these deals. And then, I mean, we saw it last year. They take that risk, they take that gamble, and then the season starts and they didn't get their player. And then we had to wait until match day 10 to sign their none. And by that point, we were already in such a deep hole in MLS season, and then we had to choose between Open Cup and trying to push for playoffs. We basically crashed out of both. Making these moves early is going to prevent something as disastrous from happening again. So again, props, exciting to see this. And regardless of how Josef Martinez fits in this team, what his role is, whether it be as a starter, as a substitute role, time will tell. But from what we're seeing so far, these are good moves. So thank you to the front office for that. Anyways, that's all I had on Josef Martinez. Overall, I'm excited. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. We'll catch you next time. Thanks.